Sick, brother. Jayden Fuller, thanks for coming on the Backbone Zone. So,
Hello.
yeah,
Yeah,
psyched to have you, man.
man. Stoked to hang out and have a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What's been happening up in Queensland, sunny Queensland?
Well, yeah, man, we really are spoilt up here, aren't we? Um, I've actually had a bit of time off. I kind of just coming back from a small knee injury.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I had a crash and kind of just like compressed the knee joint and had like some small fractures on the top of my like shin bone.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, so just kind of 6 weeks off the bike. Had a first ride back the other weekend, which was great. As you'll know, that like
Yeah, yeah,
when you have time away, it's always good to come back. So
for sure.
yeah, and then I've actually just had two German riders. Um, they come over and stayed with me for a month. So
Oh, for real?
just yeah. So just kind of hanging out with them and talking about Germany and what's going on over there, and then showing them around sort of Queensland and well Brisbane, Gold
Yeah,
Coast sort
yeah.
of area. So
Oh man,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
sick, man. Where did you know them beforehand, or they just like?
yeah. One of them's name is Marcel, and he rides for Colony as well.
Oh yeah, cool.
And so I met him 2019 in Germany. We did a trip over there, and then he just reached out saying he was coming over, was looking for a place to stay, so put him up for the month. Yeah,
Yeah, sick, man.
yeah, yeah. It was
Awesome.
cool. It was good.
Yeah, cool. And how's yeah, like aside from the knee thing, what did you do to pass the time? Were you able to
Yeah.
work
So
still or?
yeah. So I suppose like um, I guess that's a topic in itself. Is like on social media, it probably looks like I just ride and that's all I do. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and I do try ride like as much as I can. But yeah, still work a full time job, just
Wow.
factory work. Um, it's just like yeah, normal sort of in a factory. We do powder coating, so I just help kind of do all that.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
my 9 to 5, but it's actually like early hours, so I still get a bit of an afternoon to get out and ride and hang with the wife and all that.
Yeah, cool, man.
Um, but yeah, just uh, the last few years, um, the Gold Coast has like really had a scene that's kind of popped up and been growing and growing, and there's a bunch of us that are just really into the few bowls we have around here. So we just meet up, through the week and then on the weekend and just hang out and ride. Yeah,
Yeah, cool, man.
that's pretty much week to week life at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely catch that vibe off your Instagram. Obviously, we're back and forth quite a bit on social media. Just, it's cool to have that. I think now as much as there's obviously pros and cons to social media. That's a definite pro in my book. Like I feel like we get to, you know, converse on there a
Yeah.
bit. But that's
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting to see, like um you right yeah, the you definitely give off the vibe that you're riding a lot and you probably are, but that's also pretty cool that you're
Yeah.
holding down the full-time gig.
Yeah. I guess I just use social media as like my platform to, I guess, promote and share my writing. And
Yeah.
then kind of the rest of my life, I don't feel like I need to post too much up on there. Just things that I'm really like happy, like achievements and whatnot.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, it's mainly just for the BMX, and um, it's really like keeps it simple and
Mm.
yeah,
Why do
good
you
place
think?
to. 'Cause.
Because I'm similar to that. I like, 'cause 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 I'm similar to that. maybe this sounds lame, and maybe we can just get into it. But I almost think about if I wasn't sponsored or if I didn't have a shop, I probably wouldn't have social media. Like I almost think of social media as a way to like fulfill my obligations to my sponsors in a way,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and that's a big part of it. And yeah, that's definitely one part of it. And it's like nowadays it's the easiest way to, I guess, promote, you know, a brand or someone that's supporting you.
Mm,
Um, but it's also uh, it's funny. It's going to sound weird saying this, but I've kind of looked at it as like it's a good way to um, like help you push yourself every day. I think you spoke to Troy a little bit about this, but like I really enjoy the process of going out and filming a clip and um, like pushing for that clip in the moment, and then one, you're stoked to do it, but two, you have something to look back on. And then if you post it, you know, like social media, Instagram sort of thing, it's like a diary almost, and you can look back on it in years to come. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of negatives, but I always try to look at the positive in things and say that social media can be used as like a motivator to
mm,
like help you get out there every day or as much as you can and try ride and you know
yeah.
make the most of each session if you're feeling up to it, sort of thing. Yeah,
Yeah. That's cool, man, that you use it as like almost like self motivation in a way, like to be able to be like, oh man, if I don't go out,
yeah, yeah,
I'm not gonna be getting any clips. I'm not gonna be riding to a level that's like, because I feel that way. Like I have the same sort of feeling. As much as it puts pressure on me to do something, if I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a clip for the gram or whatever, like it does make you ride, puts 10% on trying to do something.
yeah.
I'm sure you know this feeling, and maybe I'm just the only one. But you would do you'll do a table that feels really good, and then you pull the camera out, and you just can't seem to get that same sort of snap going, and until
Yeah.
like because you're all of a sudden you're thinking, all right, I've gone 7 foot, like now we got to go 8 foot, like.
Now we're gonna push it. Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Sometimes it can be like a bit of a I don't know, like a curse or something.
Yeah,
We call it like the red light curse. As soon as that camera button's flashing, the pressure's on and you
for
can't do what
sure.
you just did.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
it's
I
funny.
wrote I wrote an article in 2020 called "The Filming Curse" at one stage,
Yeah,
just because I feel like that's such a thing. You're riding good. You're in the because you're just zoned into the moment that you're having. But then when you're thinking about the camera, it's almost like you can't give 100% attention to it. You're not living in the moment. You're almost living
yeah.
for what you forecast to see in the future, which is going to be a good clip.
I
Like,
fully agree. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like you kind of your attention's elsewhere, and then you can't kind of focus in.
yeah.
Where and you know what we do on a bike, like you really do need 100% focus.
You need
Yeah,
the focus for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. But like not to say that's like kind of the only way I can ride as well. Like I don't like every session isn't just to get clips, and I
Yeah.
like I'm at like a pretty happy place with like, oh, this session is like the boys are here, everyone's hanging out. I don't need to pull the camera out right now and
Mm,
kind of like put that weird like vibe like
for
that
sure. Yeah.
might just change the atmosphere a bit. But um, a lot of the times, if it's like an early morning ride or something and it's pretty quiet, it's like why not?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with social media too, like there's so many people trying to figure out how to do it and how to be successful and all that. But I honestly think there's no right or wrong way to do it. don't overthink it too much. And if you got a
Yeah.
clip, just chuck it up. And like
Yeah.
nowadays most of it's forgotten about within 24 hours anyway. So why
For
does it
sure.
matter too much? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, if you go back to the way that Instagram was first used, it was like a visual diary, it's called
Yeah.
Instagram, so like you should just be posting what's happening in your life and
In the
or
moment.
riding in the
Yeah.
morning and in then post the clip. Yeah, it's a funny one, man. Like it's so crazy how things have moved through our, even our BMX lifetime, like I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. It's changed like so many times. The
that's right.
landscape, like, from I caught the tail end of sort of the mid school era, and
Hmm.
then I've like been, I guess, the modern sort of new school era. But now we're seeing that next generations of kids who would say that I'm sort of mid school. So, and
Yeah.
they do, yeah, they do everything different again to how, I do things, and then versus how you guys did things as well. It's
I know,
crazy. Yeah.
totally. Yeah, it's wild, man. It's been really interesting actually. Like I think I'm fully coming into being an older rider now. Like I used to um I don't know if it's just because of what's been happening in my BMX world that we spoke about before. I've had a bit of, we've had some issues within the scene or whatever, but um I've actually found that through these sort of wilder times, I've been able to like step back and actually really appreciate riding for what it is, like, which is having fun on my bike. Um,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
That's probably why I haven't been, for the most part, putting stuff on my own personal Instagram, because I'm just having too much fun just doing things that are really basic and fun. But people probably wouldn't think that they were like particularly impressive. But to me, it's just been really sick time. So it's cool to
Yeah.
still live in that real life world, like you know,
Yeah, man. You gotta enjoy it. And like I think we're all trying to hold on to that feeling of like when you're just getting into it, when you're like, I don't know, 15, 16, and it's just fun. It's like
mm,
it's all that matters is that you're out there and doing it, and there's no like added or outside pressure because there's no obligations when you're young, and like your only job is to go out there and have fun.
yeah,
But when you get older, and in a country like Australia where there's opportunities in BMX, you can achieve those, but then it can add pressure along the way and all the way through. Like the pressure of trying to get recognized, that can like break a lot of people. Like you hear the stories of the guys that put in so much effort all the way up to like 18 years old, and then because they hadn't quote unquote made it, they'll kind of step away from it. And
yeah,
it's sad. It's sad to see because that added pressure just takes away from the core of it, which is just to have fun on your bike with your
mm,
mates. Yeah. And then if you do, like get into a position where you have opportunities and maybe you're supported by brands and whatnot, that can add pressure too. Like you feel like you have to perform all the time, and like normal life carries on. And sometimes that feels like it can get in the way of your BMX. But yeah, it's just, yeah, never put too much pressure on yourself. I
mm,
reckon just try hold on to that sort of, I'd call it a core value of the sort of BMX thing, is just having fun. Just hold on to that as long as you can. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. I
yeah,
think I think that too. Like even from, um, I mean, looking at you and the way that you ride, you're obviously riding super sick, but I think that the fun, like the authentic fun does come through when you're riding. Like it all, I mean, like on social media, the way that you're riding, it feels like you're having a good time, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that probably almost shines through for riders to be influenced, or people to be influenced more, maybe more than being the ultimate best rider. You know what I mean? Like, because people get more out of being
Yeah.
like, oh man, I want to ride because that looks like fun, rather than I want to ride because that's the hardest trick. That's an NBD that I've
Yeah.
never done, that no one's
Yeah.
ever done, you know, like,
Oh, you think about obviously like, dudes like Logan and Brandon and all those top tier sort of park riders. And no doubt they have fun, but it looks stressful, like maintaining maintaining that level of um riding, and like the
mm,
amount of work they have to put in
for sure.
is it'd be full on at times.
It would be
And
full on.
yeah, where I've always like I've always just wanted it to be fun and never like get frustrated in a session too much, because I guess I came after a few injuries. I became very aware that like this can be taken away from you, and so the time I've got left doing it, I just want it to be as fun as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. How old are you now?
27,
Oh,
28
mate.
in July. Yeah. So still young,
Yeah,
still a
that's
young guy,
sweet.
but
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
um,
That's cool.
but yeah, already been through the ringer a few times. I've
Yeah,
had
you've done your knees a few times, right?
yeah, I've had both knees, both ACLs reconstructed. So
Fuck.
um yeah, full on. And both from BMX, and both from, of course, it's always something small, like you're just stepping off the bike or something and it goes, but it really can just knock your confidence. And then
Yeah.
each time you come back, um you feel like maybe you don't want to push as hard, but that can also lead to a mindset of, well, if I can't do what I used to do, what can I do now? And someone once told me a good thing, and I kind of try to remember it as much as I can, which is don't limit yourself to like one lane or like 10% of BMX. Like there's so many different ways you can ride, and just because you can't do one sort anymore, like why not try something else? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Man,
it's
that's very profound stuff to live by, I reckon. It's crazy to think, um again, like speaking on what I was saying, like, I'm about to have the trail spot that I built, dozed or whatever, and now I'm thinking, fuck, like I don't know. A piece of your identity is with, like, for someone like me who
for sure.
I've been digging jumps for, well, my whole life, I guess, but then moving to Canberra, especially, it's really over the last 15 plus years, it's been everything, that's been what I
Yeah, of
what I
course.
do. But having the ability to step back and the trails aren't gone yet, but like having the abilities to step back and be like, okay, there's been a few spots that have gone over the years, but there's actually a lot of other stuff that I can ride. So maybe I just need to, like, a lot of trail building for me that I've realized just recently has been kind of not necessarily like overly egotistical, but it's like a part of you that you feel like you need to be, like you're like, oh, I have to go to the trails like X number of days to dig, and that's all I want to really ride and all this jazz. And then even to the point of like, I've got like a bigger We the People bike, like this 27.5 inch bike that I've been cruising around on lately.
Yeah.
And I actually went out with my friends Caroline and Mikey, who are both like they're like pro mountain bikers or whatever. And I was like, I rode down these trails with them on this thing, and I was like, far out. You can have so much fun on bikes. You know, like you don't have to
Yeah.
limit yourself
Yeah.
to just one area. You know, just trails or like. And I guess you do get that sort of clarity when you've gone through an injury. I remember when I've had bad injuries, it's like riding down the street and pulling a manual is sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you just need that reset, whether it be like an injury or like that's a perfect example. We've just been talking about is like the trail dudes, like, it happens more often than we'd like to, like spots getting taken away. Um, but yeah, like you guys that's your world, and then it's you might even forget that there's other types of BMX at time. Like
For
you just
sure, yeah.
but you're so focused on what you enjoy, as you would be, rightfully so. But yeah, sometimes you just need that reset and realize, hey, BMX is this huge, huge thing, huge culture, and yeah, there's so many ways to enjoy it. So
Sure.
yeah, that would be advice I'd give. Would be, yeah, don't limit yourself
Mm,
like to one lane in BMX. Try it all.
for
Try it all.
sure.
Why not? Like you might, who knows? You might be like a trail dude, and then you try street riding, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, I'm like a pretty good street rider or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Totally, man. I that's actually something that's just to get into it because obviously your last video with Colony, what was it called? It was about
Yeah. For the love of transition,
the love of transition. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, you know, obviously we were just talking about not limiting your experience, but I think a part of um what you were getting into with that bowl thing that I really loved, by the way. Like, it was sick that you were able to speak a little bit more onto what
yeah. Thank
you
you.
thought.
Yeah.
It was cool,
Um,
man.
it's the first um, like sort of interview speaking piece I'd ever done. So I was so nervous, like talking to the camera. Like the writings, I do it every day, but the talking to the camera was terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you did good, man. It sounded natural to me. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
but because I feel well, I I have similar feelings to you with the whole like hunting down transition and things like that. I think it's really fun. But I actually like part of what I like about trans or riding big bowls and things like that is actually how bad you can feel at riding at the time. Like when you go to a new
Oh, dude.
you
Yeah.
know, we were just
It
talking
can
about
be.
Gympie at the
Yeah.
start. I think, at the start of it, before we started talking, we were talking about Gympie Skate Park, which has a really deep
Yeah.
bowl for those
It's a
that don't
deep.
know.
It's a
And you
deep end
go
from
there,
hell.
yeah, you go there, and it's not like, oh, just put 10 foot onto the first air that I do. Like half of it's figuring out how hard it is to ride these places.
It,
Maybe you're different to me, but maybe you can
nah,
speak.
absolutely, absolutely. It's one of the most like humbling experiences when you like have this idea in your head of what the bowl's going to be like, and then you rock up and it's just shocking. Sometimes they're just shocking and so hard to ride, and it's just because it's not necessarily what you're used to. Like
Mm,
I guess we all have sort of local parks, and we all get used to certain sort of feeling and how a quarter pipe might feel, and yeah, you just go somewhere different, and they're built different, and
yeah.
it can really just catch you off guard. But if you really if you really enjoy it, you can actually um you can make it pretty fun, and it's quite rewarding when you I'm trying to think how you'd word it, like kind of tame a bowl for the first time. Like you're trying to figure it out, and you know you'll figure out one section, like the hip will work, and then you'll figure out like the pocket line or the flat wall, and then when you kind of piece it all together, you're like, yeah, it's rewarding. It's just as rewarding as I imagine. Like it's the same sort of feeling as like pulling a new trick for the first time, but instead it's you've just figured out the layout of a bowl for the first time, and it's like that when that something clicks in your head for the first time, you're just like you're stoked. Yeah,
Dude, I totally know what you mean because I often think about exactly like what you said. If you drop in and you're like, all right, that's not the spot to drop in. So then you've got to figure out where you've got to drop in from. And then all
yeah,
of a sudden you're like, oh, that's pointing me towards this hip. And then all of a sudden you're hitting the hip and you're like, oh, well, that's way steeper than I thought it was going to be. And then it's such a crazy feeling to feel so out of your depth. And I guess and then being able to figure that out to where you actually put a line together where you pop out after you've done a run and you're like, oh, actually that was pretty sick. I want to do that 100 times.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And it is literally like that's why bowl riding can look so simple sometimes because like we're not even necessarily thinking about the tricks in the air. We're just so
Mm.
focused on like the certain line we're trying to hold in the bowl. And then that's the feeling. That's what you're chasing is like getting that line you've just figured out like as fast or as like good as you possibly can. And
Yeah.
that's yeah, yeah. And like people will ask like, oh, like how do you ride like a certain bowl that's like maybe a bit steep or bumpy? And it's like I just tell them like that's what I put my time into. Like you guys put your time into like learning the tricks or the you know
Mm.
grinding the rails or like you guys you put your time into digging and then riding where me as more of sort of a bowl rider like
Mm.
my time is put into like just figuring out different transitions and how to ride steep quarters and then you just can kind of over time you get a knack and a bit of an eye for it and you can kind of rock up anywhere and you have an idea of what it might feel like and you can just kind of adjust as you go so it's definitely its own sort of thing like the whole bowl riding sort of movement is like something no one probably really thought about 5-10 years ago but now it's definitely its own sort of style in
Yeah,
BMX yeah
for sure. It's crazy how it's kind of come about. Obviously, the fast and loose dudes have kind of made it super popular, but it's pretty cool to watch that really come into its own, like going and
yeah
finding deep transition and then trying to figure out how to ride it. Where,
yeah
because you must live pretty close to Eleanor. Is that where your local
Yeah,
park is?
yeah, that's or probably the one I ride the most. I'm about half an hour drive from Eleanor, but it's just
Okay.
the one motorway in Queensland, so you just cruise down there and you're there.
Yeah.
But pretty much, yeah, between Eleanor and Pizzy in
Okay.
Pizzy Park, and they're two really like two of the best bowls in the world, probably. Like
Yeah, right. Wow.
they just have enough of everything that you can like constantly be learning different ways to ride a bowl, but then
Mm.
they're not too crazy like some like like American Northwest Park that's like you rock up and you're looking at this thing and you'd be like, I have no idea where to start. Like they're basic enough, Eleanor and Pizzy, that you can be a first timer and you can still figure them out, or you
Yeah.
can be like me, like a local, and you can like, oh, we're still figuring them out. Like,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, you see, and that's the other cool thing too is like everyone has a different idea of how they would ride the bowl. So I'll have the lines that I like to do, but then someone riding it for the first time, they might do something I've never thought of, and you're like, oh damn, like I
Yeah.
didn't even think to try that, and so
Yeah.
you're constantly learning and evolving
I know
as you go. Yeah,
It's pretty funny. Like I definitely ride bowls much like I ride the trails. Like if you think about trails, it's essentially the same line. You know what I mean?
Line.
Like
Yeah.
go on the
Yeah.
same. And for me, but I love the feeling at trails of getting that one lap where everything's like pulled back and then landing at the top and no,
Yeah. Yeah.
like it all just feels really good. And I get stuck into that idea at a set like at a bowl as well, where I'm like, I've at Western Creek, man, I'll still do the same two lines essentially. I've been riding that place for
Yeah.
15 years, like I can't break away.
Nah.
It
And
just
it's
feels
because
too good.
yeah, they feel good and they're fun every time. So yeah, we're like addicted to those
Yeah,
same lines every
so
time. Yeah,
funny.
it's yeah.
What have you been to some like obviously you did a trip to sort of the inner west of New South Wales, sort of thing, Central West.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So
did you
I
find any
actually
new
have
ones? You got a list
nah,
of your
I've
top bowls or?
yeah, I pretty much I actually it's funny you say that. So I have my wife to thank for that because she's actually from Mudgee,
Oh, cool.
which is near Dubbo
Yeah,
sort of area. So obviously uh I did a scout to see what is around, and of course Dubbo and all that popped up, and there's a bowl in a little town called Wellington, which is like um I think you may have been there. It's like a hidden gem. It's like one of the
yeah.
best bowls, and it's just in this tiny town, and
Mm,
it's crazy. But yeah, if you don't mind sort of road trips and stuff, it's good to like um use skate parks and bowls as like a good way to plan
that's
road
right.
trips and see the country a bit as well. And
Let's go grab my battery pack.
yeah, you're right, mate.
Yeah, I I went to when I first went to Wellington, dude. I couldn't believe that transition, man. Like, I don't know if I've ever ridden a better deep end transition than that, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's it's crazy, eh?
Yeah,
Like like you can really get obsessed like with how quarters and transitions are built. Like
yeah,
you start thinking about half circles and bigger half circles
I know.
and and like what what part of the circle have they taken to make this transition
Yeah, yeah,
and like oh yeah, it's crazy. And then you see like some they're like mellow at the bottom and then they'll get real steep at the top, or
yeah.
some of them are just really long transitions that
Mm,
like for me I think the sweet spot is like where it goes to to vert but it doesn't have necessarily any vert on it, so it
yeah,
just meets right at the coping and you can like um yeah you can pull or push off those ones and oh they're great. And yeah, Wellington is like just exactly that, like it's big transition but it doesn't isn't too steep and you can like yeah, you can let it rip there. It's awesome. It's one of my
yeah,
favorite bowls for sure. Yeah, it's cool.
yeah. It's almost like if it had more deck, like there'd be almost no limit to how fast you could come at that quarter pipe. I swear. But yet it's so tall, like it's massive. Fucking
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those ones. Yeah, you could just keep pushing and pushing, and
yeah,
sometimes and that's like another thing too. Is like some quarters like either work really well because you can get the speed, but then some are like super big and you might say they feel bad, but it's I think it's just a matter of you run up and how much speed you can get. Like
yeah,
if you have like an 8 foot like awesome quarter pipe after like a 6 foot spine, most of the time you're not going to be able to get the speed you need to make it feel good. And so
yeah, yeah.
people will like just say, "Oh no, that's shit. It's not."
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, "This is crap," but really, it's just if you had the speed, it would probably feel awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. Have you heard? So, have you heard about the elliptical transition? So it's like egg shaped. So like rather than cutting a circle and cutting the radius of the
Yeah.
circle, it's like actually like an oval shape. So that you would cut, and you could either have like a vertical oval or like a
Or like,
horizontal oval.
yeah,
So it's
God,
like
and then you,
long in the bottom, and then like eventually goes up to. I've heard Joe Rich talk about this elliptical tranny, and I kind of like hypothesize as to whether Wellington has an elliptical transition, because
it
it just
might,
feels really quite
it
long.
might, yeah, it might do.
Yeah, it's interesting. Um, I also just wanted to find out a little bit about, we were talking since you brought it up earlier, where we live in Australia, and you feel like there's obviously opportunities here, there's killer parks and things like that. But you moved here, obviously from New Zealand. But when was that? And what was it for?
Yeah, well, yeah. So the cat's out of the bag. I'm a Kiwi. Yep. I'm over here making the most of your beautiful country. Yeah. So basically, it's a pretty wild story. Um, so I grew up in Christchurch, New Zealand, which is the South Island, about halfway down. Lived there my whole life. That's where I got into riding. Um, and then basically, me and my immediate family, we moved because of a natural disaster, basically.
Holy fuck, really?
Yeah, yeah. In 2011, Christchurch had like a pretty major earthquake, and
Yeah.
more just like the the like mental stress of being young kids, um, trying to live in a country that sorry, in a city that was sort of shaking every day for months was just getting too
Wow.
much. Yeah, too much for the family. So we the parents basically made the choice to leave, and we decided on Australia because it's
Really?
obviously it's close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so they kind of asked me like, "Hey, where would you like to move? Like, is there anywhere that has like good skate parks?" And I said Beanley because it
For
was
real.
yeah, it was about the um only skate park I kind of knew on a name basis at the time, and
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
a lot of great riders have come from there. So yeah, we moved to pretty much Beanley, like just down the road, and
Crazy.
yeah, set up life over here. But yeah, going back to what you were kind of saying, it's been really fascinating. Um, I mean, most of my riding sort of career, if you will, has been in Australia now, but coming from a country where there's not really a proper industry,
Mm.
and it's all kind of just on the individuals and the scene itself. And by industry, I mean there's not really any bike shops over there, and there's no brands necessarily, or big brands that um, exist. So it's like there's not kind of like what we were saying earlier. There's no added pressure over there to kind of make it to anywhere specific in BMX. You just kind of, I think what I really like about New Zealand um, and the scene is it's really just because it's a hobby for everyone. It's to break up their day to day life and like just have fun with their mates. And
Mm.
that's like I got that drilled into me as like a young grom from all the older dudes at the time. Like, hey, there's not much here. You know, it's never going to be like America or Australia, and just like just have fun. Don't think about it too much. Like just
Hmm.
come hang out at the skate park in the afternoons, and yeah. So
Wow, that's
uh,
so crazy.
yeah, it's but not to say that there's not a lot of great things happening over there. Like there's still dudes putting on jams, and there's like some pretty crazy trail spots, which is
Oh yeah.
like like dudes have, you know, clearly put in a lot of their life into those spots. So there's just as much drive and passion to ride over there. There's just not necessarily as much support um, from an industry, but
Yeah.
it's at the end of the day, it's just a small country with a small economy, and like to have a bike shop over there, it's near impossible. I think like the
Mm.
market's just too small.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be difficult, like especially if you're thinking about small population. You know, Australia's got a quite a a big
It's
population
yeah, it's a lot
compared to
bigger. Yeah,
yeah,
and it's definitely where I got my sort of foundation of like, yeah, just do it for fun. Like
yeah,
don't don't try to get caught up in anything, because for most of the time back then there wasn't anything. And
yeah,
yeah. But yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed my time riding as a kid over there, and I still have friends that I am in touch with, and sometimes they'll come over and
oh cool,
yeah, check it out.
yeah,
But
that's
then
cool.
yeah, Australia has been mind blowing. Like it's a proper, like everything I expected. Like it's a proper thriving industry, and there's
Yeah.
the opportunity to, you know, potentially get support or sponsored by brands or a shop, um,
Mm.
and be involved in some of the biggest like and coolest scenes ever. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I
so
mean
different.
it seems like especially it's so cool that you said that you were like just knew of Beanley and then you moved to Beanley because of that. So classic.
Yeah,
That's
shout
probably
out to
how
mum
I
and
would have
dad for
been.
that one.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That they were able to support that move for sure. And it's crazy, man, that because I remember the Christchurch earthquakes. I mean, only now am I remembering it because you brought it up, obviously, but that was pretty big news, I remember, at one point.
Yeah, it was a wild time, man. It's like
That's
it's
fucking
hard to explain unless you've kind of been through it, but it's the best way I can kind of explain it is it's like the aftershocks, depending on the fault line, can go on for months at a time. So you're just living in this like constant state of fear, and especially as a young kid, like it was all
oh
quite
yeah.
scary. Um, and it just yeah, like we had no sort of drive as kids, and then as the family to want to be there. So we're like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Makes
yeah,
sense. Far out, bro. That's crazy. But I am pretty impressed with the scene in New Zealand because it's I've only been over there to ride the once. But you're exactly right. It almost seems like everyone's just it's almost like they're so like almost more hardcore in a way. Everyone's doing it like
yeah,
all the
yeah,
trail spots are pumping and
yeah.
everyone's like I don't know. I was pretty blown away. So it was pretty cool.
You could say it's like you could almost say that sometimes like having a crazy big industry isn't necessarily the best. Like,
Yeah.
uh, and it depends what you want, like, and where you come from, and like what you think of. BMX and what you want out of it. Like, you could use someone in New Zealand as an example. Their whole mindset is completely different to like an Australian rider, where there is a scene and there is opportunities just to strive for.
Mm.
But then the guy in New Zealand, he's striving for being able to ride every afternoon and every weekend just to be happy
Yeah.
and not thinking about sponsors and stuff because it doesn't exist. But then the Australians like putting his time into being like a, full package, marketable sort of rider. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it is this way, but it does feel like Queensland is sort of much more like it is a lot more like that, it seems like, in Queensland than in anywhere else in
Yeah.
Australia. I don't know
We,
if I'm right, but that's the way that I kind of am
mate,
thinking a little bit.
my theory, mate, is it's just the bloody weather.
Yeah.
Like, like we're just so spoiled
Yeah.
with good weather, and we're able to get out there and do the thing,
Yeah, you're right.
be be the influential rider or riders.
Because you can do it more.
And yeah, so we're just able to, and so it's probably like a natural thing that's just come from this area. But that is another thing. I think people need to remember that it's not the same for everyone. Like, there's dudes like you guys, and then down in Melbourne where it can be raining for like 6 months of the year, and yeah, it's just different challenges for everyone.
For
Like,
sure, yeah.
you guys are just worrying about being able to ride, and then we get caught up in like, are we able to film today, or are we able to do that? And it's like, but who's to say what's more like matters more to each individual? Like, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, the mindsets are so different. And like, you got, yeah, like I said, you guys value just being able to get out when it's sunny and dry,
Mm.
and then we value when we're able to go out and film and do that. So
Yeah.
it's, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's true,
crazy.
man. That is interesting. I guess it kind of, to go back to that similar sort of point with the whole, say, scene in New Zealand, and I think that's probably true, just scenes that have a little bit less in general, like the priorities change, and also the mindset around BMX changes. I think, like, and you can either be negative on it or really positive with it. Like, for example, the example that I always have is that the best trail scenes always come out of small towns that don't have anything around
Yeah,
them,
yeah,
and that you can kind of be thinking, you're either the type of person that thinks, far out, I've got nothing around me, this sucks, or you can be like, oh, well, I'm just going to create whatever it is that I want to. And it is a lot more pure in that way. Sometimes, like you say, in Canberra, it is freezing here for, probably 4 months of the year. It's bloody cold. But you get a good sunny day, and it's, that means so much to us, like, whereas I think
yeah,
if it's good
yeah,
all the time, maybe you can get complacent if your mindset's not right. If your mindset's like yours, then you're taking advantage. But
yeah. Like, exactly. Like, you make the most of what you have and where you are. And
mm,
of course, if you're somewhere that has a lot of cool opportunities and facilities, you're gonna take the apple. You're gonna make the most of the indoor parks or the
oh,
crazy big outdoor parks and stuff. But if you're in a small town or somewhere where, yeah, the weather's rough, your priority just shifts into, okay, we make the most of the sunny days. And
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
and I think you'd find it's the same reward and same feeling at the end of the day across the board. Like I
Yeah.
get the same satisfaction as filming a clip at the bowl as you guys probably do on a sunny afternoon at the trails. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly, man.
yeah.
Yeah, I I guess like to kind of add to that, and to go back to what we were talking about before about limiting your experiences, like that's the big thing too, that maybe it's just with age or just with this last trail spot having dramas and things like that. I'm like I said just before we were on the potty, like I went kind of mountain bike riding. I don't actually have a mountain bike, but I got like this We the People. It's almost like a beach cruiser. They call it a clunker or whatever. But
I've seen the one. It looks
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's just
yeah,
like a single speed thing. I like made the
yeah.
gearing super low so I can cruise around the streets and shit. But I was like, fuck, I reckon you could ride this down a mountain bike track, like, and I went riding, and Risty's actually got one of those dual suspension BMXs, like,
Oh
and
no way. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
he bought one off a dude that got it custom made. And at first, when those things first came about, I was actually a bit like, no, it's not for me. Like, I'm not into it. I wasn't anti it, but I was just like, oh, to me that's not BMX. But now, after thinking about it some more, I'm almost like, why would I? Because I realized that it was just my ego getting in the way. Like, I have
Yeah,
this
yeah.
thought about who I am as a BMXer, and I don't want to let anything potentially tarnish that. So I'm just going to stick with just building like, I could go ride the skate park, but fuck that, I'm just going to build it at the trails because that's who I am. And now it's like, man, if I can go have fun riding that We the People, the big bike with my friends, then why am I going to let my ego stand in the way and say like, oh no, as a BMXer, I wouldn't do that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
And absolutely. And BMXers can sometimes be like just really passionate about what they specifically love. And
yeah,
that can, like, your peers' opinions can feed into your perception as well. And so it's easy to be closed minded to something like one of these BMXs with suspension, or even just having a go at mountain biking. But you really got to think, is it like, do I not like that idea because me and my friends might think it's not cool, or like, do any of these opinions matter? And I'm just going to do it because it's fun. Like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Because it's very similar to me. Like, I had a similar sort of, like, I've always had this idea, like, um, I really like watching like feasts and shit like that. A lot of it, some of it, I truly don't think looks that good, but I am not anti like trick dudes, and
Nah, nah.
I'm not even anti jumping into a foam pit. Like, I could see how it would be so much fun to learn a bunch of that shit. And if I had a foam pit, I'd fucking be learning tricks left, right, and center.
Yeah,
But we don't have one down here, so it's like, but like, you don't want to just.
nah.
There's nothing worse than just like closing yourself off to someone who's trying to have the same amount of fun as you. It's just that their priority of fun is like doing a fucking
Different.
1080 or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's just different to how we would maybe do it. But
for sure.
it's fun to them, and who are we to, like, bring down them and what they think is fun? Like,
Totally. Like, if
yeah.
it, I don't know, like, I don't even really know. I've met R Willie a couple of times, but there's a couple of times when he's jumped that big. He's got like a fucking that big jump that he has in his backyard with the downhill
Oh,
ramp and
it's
shit.
crazy. It's
And
crazy.
I think about how fun that would be to just like tear down this hill and do like a fucking backflip or
Oh, dude,
something.
dude, and like what I said before, like why miss out on that experience because your mates might give you a bit of shit and say, "Oh,
For sure. Oh, your audio's just gone. Hang on.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. You're good.
Sorry about that." Yeah.
You're all right.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, man, it's classic. Like, I think that the there's just no point in like BMX is so hardcore already just in doing BMX, like just if you've been sticking with BMX for let's say more than a year, that's a long time. Like it's a long time to do something if you don't love it. Like if you were working a job that you hated every day for a year, you probably would move on to the next
You
job.
wouldn't do,
So
yeah, exactly.
for anyone that's been riding BMX for let's say 5 years, even that's a long time for someone to be doing something that they don't like. So if you're looking at these like trick dudes, for example, and you're thinking, fuck, that looks ugly, like I bet you, like they probably don't even enjoy it or whatever. Like I'm sure Logan, all them dudes, Willie, having the fucking time of their life, like jumping and doing that stuff.
Absolutely,
And you
yeah.
can't hate on someone for having a good time, you know what I mean? Like,
Nah, exactly. That's
yeah.
exactly it. That you couldn't have said it any better. It's like that's just them out there having
They
the
found what
time of
they
their
love.
life. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. They found what they love
yeah.
and they're making it happen. Yeah, it's classic. What speaking of doing things that you love, have you got plans? Are you going to be coming to Act Jam this year, do you think?
Yeah, man. Yep, for
Filming a video?
sure. Yeah, I actually yeah, I think if me and a few of the dudes are gonna try plan one. So
Oh, cool. I don't
yeah,
know
yeah, for
if
sure.
obviously I've spoken to a few people before I kind of let that idea drop and I was I thought that the response that I had from the few people I spoke to, they were like, man, it's a really sick idea. So I'm just hoping that it kind of comes off in that way, like I
I
hope that
think
people do
yeah,
do film for it and
no
I
man,
hope
I
we
think
have a sick premiere and shit like that.
yeah. I think you'll find it'll go exactly how you want it. Like
Yeah.
that you go going back to what we've been saying, that is like a lot of people's versions of fun is going out there filming and
Yeah. For
dudes
sure.
editing and putting videos together. So, and it's a great way again to just shine some light on some, hopefully new up and coming dudes,
Yeah.
and then also dudes timeless classics like I guess like Cody Pollard and stuff that we all just can't get enough
Ex-
footage when it
yeah,
drops. Yeah,
exactly.
so
Yeah, because I really kind of dawned on me. It was something that I've kind of wanted to do for. I've been sort of thinking about the idea for maybe like three. Well, not this act jam, but two act jams ago. I started thinking about like, man, be sick to do something like that, but I couldn't figure out in my head how it was going to work out, and then it kind of just dawned on me or whatever. But especially last year when the act jam was on, I obviously am walking around commentating and whatever, and I got a bit of a ride going as well, obviously. But there's so many people there that are such killers at bike riding, so good. Like I'm talking like Lewis Mills is standing on the sidelines, and Boyd Hill is
yeah,
standing on the sidelines, and fucking Code. Like all these people are just there, like hanging out. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I want so many people to just see these people ride right now, but they don't feel like it or they're whatever.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. That's
and I end up giving, we're giving a shit ton of cash away, which is still going to happen. But it's like, I almost feel like I want to see people be screaming for like Wilton to be fucking on the screen or, like be
yeah,
shredded and
yeah,
stuff like that. So
yeah.
I
That's
think,
it, man.
I think that's kind of the idea behind it is to have a lot more people be involved in the Act Jam than the usual heads that are riding
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah. And it's perfect, man, because a lot of people aren't necessarily comfortable riding in front of crowds or
Exactly, yeah.
like in that. even like a jam environment can be so intimidating sometimes because it's
Oh yeah,
chaos. Like it's
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
insane.
I think that's awesome, man. I think
Yeah, I think it'll be
it'll
cool.
yeah.
We're trying to work out a bit of a plan for the other things, which I won't mention now, but hopefully this year will be pretty sick, a bit different. So for locations, so we'll see.
Oh, dude, it's
But
always sick.
yeah. Oh, hang on, no audio again. You there? Can't hear you again. Sorry, crew. One sec.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. And it's my birthday or not that weekend, but a couple of days after. So it'll be a
Oh no way.
birthday party.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah. No, it'll be
that's
sick, man.
gonna be a good one for you then, mate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wicked.
So do you have plans for the next couple of months? You
Just just
more
keep
BMXing?
yeah, just keep doing my thing. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, lots of
Awesome.
riding, lots of tables.
Yeah, cool.
Um and just yeah, hang out with the wife, the family, and just
Yeah,
enjoy
awesome.
life, really, man. Yeah.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, I love it,
What
dude.
what's the saying? I won't stop till the wheels fall off or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, you bring a lot of positivity to my day every time I'm on the gram. You're one of the people that I I draw inspiration off just from your it seems to be a bit of a theme, but I love having positive people on the podcast, and someone like yourself is really tops it for me. So it's cool to speak to you in person and
Well, yeah,
yeah,
thanks, man. I appreciate that. That means a lot. And like honestly, at the end of the day, like life is too bloody short to like have negativity in your life and
yeah,
waste time on stuff like that. So
yeah, I
just
agree.
fill your life with fun, guys. Make it, you know,
Yeah,
every day awesome. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I agree for sure, man. I hope to I don't know, maybe get to Queensland over the winter or something. That'd be a good one. I'll do
Oh,
my
dude,
best to actually hold a appointment at the bowl with you.
for sure, for
Yeah,
sure. Count me in. Yeah.
sick.
It'll be sunny guaranteed up here. So, you know.
Yeah, over winter it will be for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sick, man.
Awesome.
We'll finish it off here, but I'll speak to you again soon, brother.
No worries.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jayden. See you,
Thanks for
mate.
having me. Cheers. Bye.